I'm going to cover how I discovered that alcohol does not relieve work stress. I was one of those people that definitely thought that I deserved to have a glass of wine. I had such a stressful week or very stressful day, and I just could not wait to get home and pour that glass of wine because I would immediately feel all my stress disappear. That was me, especially on Fridays. I just couldn't wait for around 4 o'clock to come and to be able to go home, stop at the liquor store, get my bottles of wine, get my Prosecco, and start the weekend. I was so excited to relieve my stress. That was the best way for me to do it. And I didn't care that I was home alone drinking my glasses of wine or whatever. I was just so ready to unwind from the week. So if that's you, if you're one that likes to get home and pop that wine or pour that whiskey and Coke or open that beer and drink and just start to melt away the stress, this episode is for you. This is episode number 23, and we are on day 23 of Dry January. Hi, I'm Lise, and I'm your host, and this is the Going Alcohol Free podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. If you're new here and you're not doing Dry January, stick around because I know you're going to get benefit. And if you are a returning listener, I really appreciate you being here as well. This episode, all of these episodes, I record them and put them on YouTube as well, so you can watch the video. The link is in the description below. How did I discover that alcohol does not relieve work stress? Well, I was under the impression that in order to relieve my stress for many, many years, I had a corporate job for about 20 years in corporate America. And the more that I climbed the ladder and the more money that I got paid, the more pressure I put on myself to perform. As I mentioned in yesterday's episode, I always was worried that I was going to get laid off or get fired. And I was always overthinking. And because I was always overthinking, I was always overworking. I would sometimes go in at 5 o'clock in the morning. I would sometimes work till 10 o'clock at night. If there was busy seasons and I had to do what I had to do. I definitely thought that I deserved to have alcohol when my stress was, at a level 12 on a scale of 1 to 10. And it's how I relieved my stress, or so I thought. This is how I discovered that alcohol did not relieve my stress because I left my job. In 2014, I decided to quit my job. And again, I will tell my story coming up after Dry January. But I just couldn't take it anymore. And the higher up that I climbed, the more miserable I was, and the more my drinking escalated. And I knew that something had to change. There was a breaking point. And I cannot wait to share all of this with you. It's kind of a long story, so I'm going to dedicate an episode to this. But I quit my job, my corporate job, my 6-figure corporate job. I just had enough. And I decided that I wanted something different for my life. Listen to me. If you are feeling stuck in your job or your career, and you're in your 40s or your 50s or your 60s, I was in my 40s at the time. I'm 51 now. Listen, I want you to know that you're not too old and it's not too late to make any changes. So if your drinking is escalating because you're feeling stuck and your stress is your stress level is on a 15 on a scale of 1 to 10, or even if it's an 8 or a 9, this is your soul telling you something. And I didn't realize it at the time, but my soul, I was so miserable. I was very unhappy. And part of that was definitely leading me to drink more alcohol. And I never thought that I could quit drinking alcohol. And I felt really stuck in my career. I felt really stuck in my job. I mean, the money that I was making, I honestly just felt I had no other options but to stay in that job until something happened. And I decided to quit my job. And part of it was health reasons. So I quit my job. And guess what happened? my stress didn't go away. I still had a lot of stress in my life, even though I thought that quitting my job would relieve my stress. And it didn't. If this is you and you are thinking like, oh, my stressful job and I need to drink because, I have this stressful job, guess what? Number one, your stress is a response not to your job, but how you are thinking about your job. So I had all of these thoughts, like, again, listen to yesterday's episode, because partly I had this perfectionism in me and this need to people please. And part of me and part of who I was when I had my job, but guess what? When I left my job and I started working for myself, guess what? I still had the perfectionism and the people pleasing aspect. I took my mind with me from my job to what I decided to do next. And I still felt stressed out. And I was still drinking. And I thought that I was only drinking when I was in my job to relieve my stressful job. But I took my drinking habit with me once I quit my job as well, because I didn't uncover the root causes. And I introduced the law of cause and effect on yesterday's episode number 22. So please listen to that, because I talk about the law of cause and effect. It's a universal law that is always in play and we cannot escape it. So we might as well learn how to use these universal laws to our benefit versus using them against ourselves. I was using it against myself. I thought that the cause of my stress was my job. But when I left my job, I still had stress, lots of stress. And stress is just a feeling in our body. It's what we feel. We can't see it or touch it, right? You can't see or touch stress, but I felt it in my body. And the reason that I felt it was because I was thinking thoughts. I couldn't calm my mind down. I definitely wasn't mindful. I was the opposite of mindful. I had racing thoughts. I was anxious. I had anxiety, but I had no job to be stressed about. I was working for myself and I loved it, but I was still stressed out. Therefore, I was still drinking. So the root cause, which I thought was my job, that I was hating. I mean, I called my office my jail cell. I realized that once I left my job, guess what? I was still stressed out. I still had a lot of stress. The things that were going on in my life were totally different, but I was still thinking about it the same way. My perfectionism, my people pleasing, my overthinking. So, what I want you to take away from this is that drinking is actually not helping you feel better and removing your stress. What's happening while you're drinking is that you are just not thinking about your job at the moment. It's kind of like people that emotional eat. When they're emotional eating, they're not thinking about the things that are causing them to emotional eat at the time. Their thoughts are directed to something else, which is their eating at the time. And when I was drinking, my thoughts were not on my job. My thoughts were on how good this feels and the dopamine hit that was coming into my body for a very short time. And my drinking, the consequences of my drinking were actually creating even more stress in my life, creating even more things that were not going well in my life. So it was like a double whammy. I would drink to try to feel better and relieve my stress, but ultimately it was causing even more stress in my life. So I really want you to think about this. We are digging into root causes yesterday and today as to why on yesterday's episode, why it's hard to quit drinking. If that's you, listen to that episode. Today, it's more about me realizing and sharing with you my story, how I figured out that alcohol did not really relieve my work stress like I thought it was. What we're doing here is we are just becoming very self aware because that is what mindfulness will do for us. It's kind of the first step, being self aware to making the changes that we want to make. So if you're thinking that when you get home and you drink alcohol, that alcohol is what is helping you unwind from the day, nope. It's when you are thinking, oh, okay, I feel better now. I had my glass of wine. And yes, you're having a little bit of a dopamine hit, but you're also thinking about how great the wine is or the alcohol. And then you get to release your thoughts about your stressful job for the day. That is what I want you to remember as you are drinking your glass of wine tonight or tomorrow night, or your beer or your whiskey and Coke or your whatever it is that you drink, that drink is not what is actually helping you relieve your stress. It's what you're thinking at the time when you're drinking that alcohol. But alcohol will always have a negative effect on our life, our health, our life, our relationships. We're going to get more into that as we continue on. Now it's time for what I am loving now. I always love sharing what I'm loving because I know that it will benefit you as well. Here's what I'm loving today. I have to share this with you. This is my 1 gallon water bottle. I don't always make it through a gallon of water a day, but it is my goal. And I got this on Amazon, and I am all about drinking water. Listen, I want you all to be about drinking water. It is so important to help balance your body and listen, our health is everything. So why wouldn't we want to drink water? And that's why I love this water bottle, because at the top it says 7 a.m., good morning. And then it says at 9 a.m., hydrate yourself. At 11 a.m., remember your goal. 1 p.m., keep chugging. At 3 p.m., feeling awesome. At 5 p.m., don't give up. 7 p.m., almost finished. And 9 p.m., you did it. So it has this reminder on it. And there's also 1/2 gallon water bottles that you can get too. This might be a little bit big if you are sitting at your desk and trying to chug on it. It does have a straw in it, but they have a lot of different colors you can choose from. Listen, I used to be an avid Diet Coke drinker when I was a alcohol drinker. And you know what my thought process was? You know what? I'm going to die somehow. I might as well enjoy dying how I dying drinking what I like to drink. And I didn't realize all of the impacts that those things were having on my body, the alcohol and the Diet Coke. Seriously. And when I started adding in water every single day, you guys, listen to me. And before I stopped drinking alcohol, I cut out the diet soda and I definitely added more water in. But I had a lot of acne and my skin cleared up. Yes, even in my 40s, I was dealing with acne my whole life. And water definitely helped with that. So I highly recommend that you all consider, looking into some sort of water bottle so that you all know what your daily water intake is. I really want you to think about intaking at least half of your body weight in ounces. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you're going to drink 100 ounces of water a day minimum. If you are like doing work in the yard or shoveling snow or you know training to run a race or something, of course, you're going to want to drink more water than that. So at a minimum, you want to drink half of your body weight in ounces of water. 1 gallon is 128 ounces. So just for perspective, a 1/2 gallon, of course, would be 64 ounces. So do consider something like that. The link to look at this water bottle, and if you want to purchase it as well, I got it on Amazon. The link is down in the description below, so you can at least see what it looks like. And I really want you all to consider drinking water. Okay. All right. Now, it is time for the daily oracle card where I share my card that I pulled for the day. And I always journal on it for a couple of minutes on the message. It's so helpful. And it really helps to clear your mind and get what's on your mind. And if you are stuck somewhere in your life, it really helps pull that answer out. And that's why I share my card with you on a daily basis. And if you are loving this segment, let me know. And if you are not enjoying it, let me know. Of course, I want to give you all what you want. All right. So here is today's card. First of all, let me tell you where it came from. It came from the self-care wisdom cards. Now, these aren't really oracle cards, but self-care wisdom cards by Cheryl Richardson, artwork by Joe Podmore. The link to view this card is down in the description below if you'd like to see this card and what the deck looks like. Now, let me show you. I pulled this card today. It's called Happiness, and there is a woman on each side, the same woman. And on one side, she looks sad and it's dark outside. And on the other side, she's happy and it's like a bright day with puffy clouds. And it says happiness at the bottom. And there's not a guidebook that goes with this, but here's the message. It says, your thinking will either make your happiness or take your happiness. You choose. That's what we talk about on this podcast, right? Your happiness. Your thinking will either make your happiness or take your happiness. You choose. And on this card that's included with the deck, she says, dear friend, thank you for purchasing my self-care wisdom cards. I invite you to use them in several ways. You might pick one in the morning and let the message remind you to focus on a particular need throughout the day or when faced with a decision. You can shuffle the deck, center yourself, and choose a card to help guide you in the right direction. One of my favorite ways to use this deck is to share individual cards with others. There you go. I shared it with you. I include them in birthday greetings, thank you notes, holiday cards, and when paying bills by mail. I also leave them as a surprise gift, the bank drive-through window, or with a gratuity at a restaurant, for instance. I created this new deck to encourage you to take even better care of yourself as you grow into your wisdom years. I hope you find the cards to be an inspiring, helpful guide. Warmly, Cheryl Richardson. So that is the card that she includes with this deck. And I just really loved this card and what the message was. And of course, this inspired today's message as well. So I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And I cannot wait to see you all tomorrow. I want to remind you all to shine bright. I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now.